Hey guys, before we start, I just wanted to thank my friends for sticking around and, of course, one of them for subscribing. It should be known that I didn't ask anybody to subscribe, so the fact that someone out there did, it does mean a lot to me. I I think I know who did. It was one of my friends. So, yeah. I know it's just one button, but it's validating in a way. It lets me know that people actually like my content. So, thank you. Without any further ado, let's get on to the actual video. Mega Man, Capcom's neglected child. It should be noted that Mega Man has been going on since Capcom was a thing, and is unironically one of my favorite series from Capcom. However, the complete lack of anything from Mega Man is surprising, considering this used to be Capcom's flagship franchise. So, today I I wanted to talk about Mega Man for two reasons. Reason number one being more people should play this, but reason number two, because I have a friend who just loves Mega Man, and I'm sure they would be very thankful for this video, since I'm pretty sure they subscribed. I'm not going to give away the name of my friend because I want to keep their identity a secret and to keep them safe. But I thought I would make a special Mega Man video for them. What makes Mega Man so great in the first place? Well, there are a number of reasons, really. It could be the wide roster of characters, the darker undertones, the realistic environments. I'll tell you one thing though, it's definitely not the support of Capcom. That's just non existent. But in my personal opinion, what made Mega Man really stand out to me, for one, was the fact that, well, Mega Man's power is really unique when you think about it. I mean, Mega Man is a robot who fights other robots, and when they're defeated, he takes their power. That's pretty cool. Now, admittedly, Kirby may have done this first, so probably not that big of a deal, but I still think it's pretty cool. So I came to think, what are some of Mega Man's best abilities? But while I was doing research on that, I found out there were a ton of abilities that are absolute trash that you will never use. Now, I'm a pretty positive guy, or at least I'm trying to be positive for a change. I'm pretty negative most of the time. And while most YouTubers would put the best list first, I'm going to put the negative one first so we can get it out of the way. I have decided to make a top 10 list for the 10 best and the 10 worst Mega Man abilities. Ground rules. Mm, they have to be abilities you get from bosses. So, no armors. That's another list entirely. The second thing is that they kind of have to serve a unique purpose. They can't just be the Buster. So, the Buster is no longer a thing on this list. And the biggest rule, and this is more of a personal rule, but it can only come from Mega Man Classic and Mega Man X. For one reason, I those are the only two Mega Man types I've played. I mean, I've also played the Zero series, but they don't really have a lot of abilities. So that wouldn't be very long. Anyway, for the worst abilities, criteria is simple. Are they bad? Do they do a job and fill a niche, but are they bad at doing that niche? Is there something that outclasses them? And most importantly, is their functionality just really not that good? So, we'll be starting off from number 10 and working our way up to number 1. Starting off with number 10. Number 10, the Charge Kick from Mega Man 5. I will preach to the high heavens that Charge Man is not one of the worst robot masters of all time. Charge Man is a really cool one, based off of a steam locomotive. There's the obvious he looks like Thomas the Tank Engine joke, but that's all I have to say about it. Anyway, everybody points to several things about Charge Man being bad, which I agree to none of them except for one small thing. The charge kick is lame. Now, at first I wasn't sure if I would agree with this because, on one hand, the idea of the charge kick is amazing. Take a move that is normally known for mobility and turn it into an attack. That is really cool. The only issue is, well, it only works on the ground, and it's supposed to grant you invincibility when you use it, but often it doesn't. The charge kick is a pretty lame move. Unfortunately, I don't have a lot to say about it. I mean, what do I say about it? It's a weaponized slide. There's not much to say about it. But it's just not an ability that I would like to use. Number 9, the Ground Dash from Mega Man X6. Mega Man X6 is one of my least favorite Mega Man games of all time. In fact, I'd go as far as to say that it is possibly worse than Mega Man X7 in terms of frustration. Now, say whatever you will about Mega Man X7, but giving it credit, the worst sin it commits is that it's really boring. Meanwhile, Mega Man X6 doesn't even feel like an actual Mega Man game sometimes due to how unfair it can be. Also, if you're wondering why I'm looping this footage, it's because I couldn't find any footage of the ground stash online. So I'm just making do with what I have. That should already be a red flag for this ability. That finding footage for it is already a task and a half. But what's even worse is that this ability, it's not really as advertised. The ground dash calls itself a dash, but if you look on screen, it's a ball of junk. And that's ironically enough how I would describe this ability. A big ball of junk. It moves slowly across the screen and it doesn't really do much. That's quite literally it. Oh, there's a charged variation like all Mega Man X moves, but it just makes the ball bigger and makes it move faster. When you compare it to all the other charged moves in the same game, it just it's just really lame. Like look at this move. Yeah, its main attack is lame, but when you charge it up, suddenly you got turrets. That's cool. Why doesn't the ground dash do that? So yeah, ground dash is a big stain on Mega Man X. Let's move on to number 8. Number 8, Explosion from Mega Man X7. Fun fact, this is the only Mega Man ability in the entire franchise to only be one word long. Fun fact, again, this ability also really stinks. And one last fun fact, it's extremely hard to find footage of. In fact, this video doesn't even show the actual move, just what it gives Axel. But basically, Explosion is like this. It gives off a giant wave of energy that sounds cool, and it does do a lot of damage, but it has one fatal flaw. It is super slow. You're not going to be able to hit anything with it. The only reason why it is not any higher is because it gives Axel the G launcher, which is the best weapon in the entire game. And the weapon you're seeing on screen right now. If it weren't for that, Explosion would probably be number 3, 2, or 1. But because it's so useful, I can't place it any higher. So, here it stays. But just note, Mega Man X7, you're still one of the worst. Number 7, the Power Stone for Mega Man 5. Now that I think about it, Mega Man 5 has a lot of duds in its roster of weapons. It's not one of the bad Mega Man games, but I think this is the reason why people don't talk about it. Granted, Power Stone and Charge Kick are not the only two reasons why. But Power Stone is super situational. Basically, it launches 3 extremely powerful boulders, but they have a very specific pattern, making it hard to actually hit anything with them. Does that sound familiar? It should, because we got done explaining a weapon just like that. A weapon with a very amazing upside, but with a crushing downside. And, well, I'm just a little sad that a weapon with a cool name like this, named after an actual fighting game, no less, was given such a weird downside. I would say it's worse than the shield weapons in Mega Man, but number 6, the shield weapons from Mega Man 2, 4, 5, and 6. Yes, all of them. Now you may be asking, how is this worse than whatever came before? And I'll just tell you right now. The shield weapons in the early days of Mega Man were not that good. In fact, they were probably some of the worst shield weapons in the entire series. Leaf Shield Leaf Shield was just strange. Yes, it protected you from all damage, and yes, you could throw it, but only if you moved. The Star Shield was kinda like that, except you could actually control when you launched it, which made it actually decent, but, well, I just think it didn't serve much of a purpose. The Skull Barrier and the Plant Barrier were literally the exact same weapons, just given new coats of paint. Which one is better? Neither of them. They're both really bad. They break in one hit, and I just don't think that's good. Now, why didn't I include the Pump Barrier, the Acid Shield, and the Jewel Barrier? And, well, admittedly, I forgot those and I was going to put them on, but now that I think about it, they're actually extremely good. The Pump Barrier is just, it gives you a lot of shield charges and it protects you, but you have to be careful with it. The Jewel Barrier basically allows you to just rush through recklessly. May need a little tuning if it ever appears again. And finally, the Acid Barrier allows you to attack while you have the shield up. That's something that we've been missing for some reason. I actually don't know why. But anyway, that was number 6. So let's move on to number 5. Number 5 is going to be a little bit of a controversial take, but it's the Flashstopper from Mega Man 2. Mega Man 2 is a really good game, although the claim that it's the best one is something I don't fully agree with. But it has 2 weapons that I really don't like, plus one weapon that just breaks the game. One of the weapons I don't like is the Flashstopper, and that is for one major reason. If you're wondering why the person in this video is tanking hits instead of using the Flashstopper, then you have not played Mega Man 2. For if you did, you would know that he can't fire that weapon yet. The Flashstopper doesn't allow you to shoot while it's active. due to NES spaghetti code. Meaning, now, that wouldn't be so much of a problem, but there's one other thing. Due to more NES spaghetti code, you couldn't switch your weapons while one of them was still active. Meaning, if you use Flashstopper, you had to wait until the entirety of the bar was removed, essentially. If you didn't, you had to. If you did, you would waste your entire energy's worth, but you'd at least get to switch off. The only reason why it's not higher is because it does that to Flash, to Quickman. That's the only reason why it's good. Anyway, let's move on to number 4. Number 4, the Bubble Lead. I almost forgot that this weapon was even a thing. I had to go back and pull it out in my memory. But now that I remember it, I really wish I didn't. Because the Bubble Lead, it basically does nothing. The Bubble Lead doesn't really have a lot of purposes in combat, as it bounces off of most enemies. It is the weakness of Heat Man, but unless the enemy is grounded, the Bubble Lead's just gonna bounce off of it. Heck, even if the enemy is grounded, sometimes it'll just bounce off of it anyway. Like that. Or that. Bubble Lead is almost useless outside of Heat Man. However, there is one use case for it. And no, it's not to take out the peepees. Yes, those little birds are called peepees. I will not take any immature jokes here. But there's actually a Wily stage level where there are fake platforms. And most projectiles and weapons won't tell you what's the fake platform and what isn't, but Bubble Lead will. So it does have purpose, just not as a weapon. So that's why it's number 4, but honestly, I just don't like it. Number 3, the Super Arm from the original Mega Man. The one that started it all. And it has one bad weapon. The Super Arm is the definition of situational. It's extremely powerful, but it requires a type of ammo. And no, it's not the typical ammo that you have. No, it requires you to pick up blocks. Now, that's not too bad until you realize not every stage in the original Mega Man has blocks. And by that rule alone, yeah, this weapon is pretty useless outside of Cutman stage. I couldn't find any footage for this next weapon, but number 2 is the Earth Digger from Mega Man 5 on the Game Boy Advanced. It's the Super Arm, again, except there are fewer blocks. I'm serious. That's all it is. You're not missing much. Number 1, the Thunderwall from Mega Man 10. The footage you're seeing is from Mega Man Maker, which makes the Thunderwall actually good. But for the original Thunderwall, where to begin? I am for the narrative that Sheepman is actually a good robot master. But his weapon is terrible. It flies up at a really specific angle, already off to a good start, and then it fires downward, not even dealing splash damage. Do I need to say why this is terrible? The Thunderwall is not only extremely situational, but it doesn't even deal that much damage, from what I can tell. So yeah, I know it's an obvious number 1, but the Thunderwall is my pick for the worst Mega Man item. That's given to you by bosses, at least. So, that was my top 10 worst Mega Man weapons. Which weapons do you think are worse? And do you think that there are any good ways to use these bad weapons? Please let me know in the comments below. And, as always, I'm the Gamer Nerd, and thank you so much for watching.